You always look shiny.
Tell me that.
Shiny is a good thing.
Shiny's good.
Holy guacamole, we are live. We did it at the Michael Laid It studio because you guys are awesome. Awesome sauce. So I'm going to do my little intro. Hello, True Beauties, and welcome to True Beauty Confessions, a safe space to do exactly that. Confess our truths, our feelings, and unpack everything that makes us beautiful. This podcast is for those of you who are ready to up your beauty game, do the dirty work, and start digging. I'm your host, Michelle Rosetta. And I am so happy to introduce these two guests. First off, we have Andrea coming in from an undisclosed location in the Toronto woods. And Andrea is a registered homeopath, clinical herbalist, the administrative and admissions director, lecturer, and clinical supervisor at the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine, as well as a musician. And a past hotel roomie of mine in one of possibly the worst hotels in Peterborough from our clinical herbalist program days. And if I knew you were so cool and did so much stuff. Oh, are we? Yeah, we're still there. We're live. We're live. We're good. We're good. Okay. So, and to my, I'm not sure what on camera this is, left or right. I can't do my left or right anyways. So we are happy to introduce Wawa born and bred Jason McRae, currently a supervisor of an undisclosed construction company with a history of working with vulnerable youth as a child and youth worker, as a co-host for today's show, because Jason felt potentially we could use an important male perspective on this episode. And if no one has met someone from Wawa, everyone has now.
Corn-fed or inbred.
This is an Wawa specimen. And I just need to let everyone know, because I know we are a little stressed coming in, and I just need everyone to relax because I came in putting this dress on and we're talking about beauty stuff, and it's ridiculous because what happened was I was cutting it short and I decided to put this on, and I put the zipper up and it can't come down anymore because I can't breathe. So if anything happens to me and I should stop breathing, just undo the zipper. Life will come back in. Yeah. Okay. Everyone feels comfortable now? We're good. I wanted to start. I did a little bit of homework. Actually, Jason, you're probably better with social media and what's trending than I am. But I did a little bit of homework, and I thought this was a nice topic to start things off. So, I looked at two different podcasts, and I'd love to get your take on this from Andrea and Jason. Andrea, can you say hey so I make sure that?
Hey.
Oh, good. I just wanted to hear that sweet voice of yours. So I listened to two different podcasts, and it was in regards to male versus female beauty and kind of where we're at in regards to celebrity and media and in general in our community. I don't know if they transfer. So that's why I thought we could start off our conversation. In one of the podcasts, they were discussing how there was an underwear advertisement. And on the one side was women, different ages, different sizes, and generally different culturally. And then on the other side, they were saying how the same brand had men in underwear, but the men were generally within the same age range and all what they called totally ripped. So they were feeling a little sad in terms of how that made them feel. And also that they felt like maybe it's giving an unrealistic version of what maleness is today, and that it's confusing. The other podcast I listened to was in regards to the double standard between beauty and with men and women in beauty, and that celebrities in general, women get like so much attention if they decide to change their beauty or forego their beauty for a part, whereas as a male, if they do the same thing, they don't get the same amount of attention, because in general men are able to have, you know, various degrees of what is attractive physicality, whereas women are in this very structured form of symmetrical face, long hair, slight, and it doesn't seem to vary. So those were the two different examples of what I found, you know, predominantly on the internet. How do you two feel about that? Andrea, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think that we've made some headroad in terms of women's beauty or showing more representation. We need to do a lot more. But I agree with those sentiments that we're not seeing the same thing for men. But then it does seem strange that what you're saying in terms of you know, what's going on in Hollywood, that sort of seems like an opposite scenario that's going on there.
Jason?
Well, you look at the only thing I could do is quote a movie in movie Monster. Charlize Theron plays Eileen Wuornos, right? And the transformation between what society thinks is beautiful and what society thinks isn't beautiful is a prime example. I mean, it's all makeup and construction for sure, but Charlize Theron or Eileen Wuornos, right? So they portrayed her as whatever they portrayed her as in the movie.
Well, a monster.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's not Charlize Theron in everyday public.
What's so interesting with you bringing that up is that that was actually one of the topics that was brought up on the podcast, that they could have chose anyone and someone that maybe was more fitting to that part already without having to do this massive overhaul, right? Why did they have to choose her? But then it ended up being there was so much focus and attention on how they reconstructed her for the part, that's what gained so much notoriety. And in exchange, like on the other hand, men have done the same type of overhauls in terms of their physicality and don't get the same amount of notoriety, which suggests that women still have this massive beauty standard to rise to. But how do you feel, Jason, in regards to the underwear?
Well, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic for sure. Like Michelle said, they're, you know, abs of steel and, 16 abs each side. So
How many abs?
look, realistically, let's look at the population of males, right? Unless you're in the gym taking some sort of, growth hormone or whatever to make yourself look physically, attractive. What is attractive?
Does it make you feel bad?
Yes and no. I
Yeah.
mean, I look at it both ways, right? They're just doing their job, right? They get in shape for obviously this kind of work. This is what they do. They're a male model. So they need to keep that appearance as as they say, society likes. I would prefer to see, old fat guys, wearing the
You're not
boxers,
old.
wearing the boxers, wearing the briefs with tidy whities, whatever they want to wear. That's more realistic, right? I mean,
That would be awesome ad. That'd be an awesome ad. You know what? I do think we're going to move on from this, but I do think that there is issues because my son, I swear he has body dysmorphia because everyone's like, oh, you're so thin and you have to be. And he's super cute. And it's already starting, and I've noticed it's not just our women that are being kind of contorted into these structures that maybe are not realistic or true to life. I don't know.
Well, everyone is, all genders. And, I think, and we all are suffering from ageism, which I think is a real problem.
Oh, that was my question for you, actually. Given that you seem to, since I had met you, gain some new inspiration into your musical career. And I wanted to, because I do have quite a few friends that are women and in the music industry. And ageism, I think, possibly has some type of, I don't know what the limiting factor or the thought of it. Is that true? Do you feel that, what inspired you now to start creating again? And do you feel that ageism has either stifled your creative ability or liberated you?
I think so when I was younger, I didn't have the courage to follow through with exploring music. It's always meant a lot to me and always something that I've been involved in, but it's been a very private exploration. And so I actually think that it took me to get to this age to finally realize, wait a minute, if you don't actually make a diligent effort with this, you're going to regret it. And so I had to get to a point where there were, fewer F's given, shall we say.
Yeah, you can say that on this podcast.
To be able to proceed with that. And I think it has crossed my mind a few times, but I think I also feel really strongly about us just embracing ourselves as who we are. And part of the reason why this exists is because we believe it. And so, let's face it, I look at, some other musicians that are out there, and I think, who would I rather be? I mean, I don't want to look like Madonna when I'm old.
They're still that standard. Like you look at the Rolling Stones, they look like they might, you don't know if they're going to get off stage or not, but then it's like,
yeah. Well, I would rather be Patti Smith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they'll be like,
well, for many reasons, but also she's
Patti Smith. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes to that. Joan Jett. But I think you brought up a really important point, right? Nobody's saying like, look at Mick Jagger, right? But if Madonna or Cher or any of them up there, it's always about, oh, look, she's like 80 years old and looks like she's 40. Not normal. Yeah. Like it's not normal. Don't know what's going on there. I would suggest that's not okay. And bringing it back around to what we're talking about elevating that beauty vibe, not like staying within this one dimensional view of what the human experience is in regards to body and attractiveness. And I think what you said was it's true because we believe it to be so. So do you want to expand on that?
I don't know exactly where this all started, but if we were living in a society that had a lot more respect for our elders, then I don't feel like this would be happening. So it's not a beauty thing; it's a respect for the experience that people have in life. I don't know. This could just delve into so many other conversations that.
Well, it's allowing us to move into the seasons of life, right? Without rejecting them.
Yeah. And, in regards to some conversations that you and I have had, this whole idea of aging and going through life, it's become really medicalized. Like age, you start to develop symptoms that need to be treated and you're a problem.
That's a really good point. What do you think about that, Jason?
I surround myself with a group of friends that I don't give a fuck what I look like. Don't care how I act. It is what it is, right? And to be quite honest, like Michelle's part of that group.
I'm going to challenge you on that just a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Because we were at the Kaministquah Community Mother's Day supper.
Yes, we were.
And there was some discussion about weight that came up.
With who?
At our table.
Was I involved?
You were involved.
Okay.
And there had been apparently a slight that was brought up in regards to whether you were happy or not happy with your weight. And it was something that, there was this is actually, they say that, I was going to ask you this, but generally there's this feeling that men have to hold a lot on their shoulders in regards to allowing things to kind of roll over when it's discussed about their physical selves. Is that true or not?
It depends who I'm with. If I'm with my friends and we're hanging out and they're poking fun because I'm usually the biggest guy in our group, right? So
that's because you're Wawa born and bred.
That's right. Corn-fed and inbred.
The
right?
Hockey players are huge from there too.
That's right. So in my circle of friends, I'm the biggest guy, right? So yes, I get poked and prodded and teased, right? Like, but that's okay because it's coming from a place of endearment for me. Right now, if I'm at work which has happened, right? Holy man, look at the size of that guy, right? It kind of messes with my head a bit. It does one of two things. It either gives me a really, really big ego, like I can snap you like a twig, or it makes me feel really bad about myself, right? Like it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat this bag of chips because that's all I have time for. Or I shouldn't eat this chocolate bar because that's all I have time for. I should make a conscious effort to eat a little bit more healthy now. It's, I don't eat fruits and vegetables, obviously. So, right. But that's my choice. That's my choice. And
Yeah.
I choose not to do that. Whereas, because I don't care what I look like when I'm with my friends. It doesn't matter to me. Now, if I go to the mall or something, when I went to the mall, yeah, I kind of care. I dress up a little bit, put on a different shirt, put on different shoes, put on a different pair of pants, clothes have a big thing for me. I'm into hoodies.
What do you do when you get that feeling of, I didn't feel so good about that? How do you get yourself out of that?
Just don't even think about it. Just let it roll off like everything else, right? There's a huge mental block there where you just shut it down and don't even think about it. But once in a while, when you're by yourself, you're feeling down, you start thinking about the past things that happened to you, people calling you this, people calling you that. So now you gotta dress the part when you go out, social media is a killer. Social media does me no favors. I mean, I go to bed, I scroll TikTok for 2-3 hours, and it's,
What are you seeing on TikTok? Are you on TikTok, Andrea? No. What are you seeing on TikTok?
nothing good.
No.
Nothing good. Nothing good comes from that platform. Today's day and age, right? Everybody back in the old days, because I'm old.
Stop saying you're old because that makes the rest of us old.
But back in the day, you didn't have social media, you didn't have that platform. So if you went up to someone and criticize them in public, one of two things are going to happen. Either somebody's going to break down and cry, or you're going to get a shot in the mouth. Simple, right? There's none of that anymore these days. So there's that sense of false security. And I get sucked in all the time. I get sucked in on hot topics, and probably not a topic for today, but I do get sucked in a lot of things, right? A lot.
Andrea, what do you do? Because you dropped your phone in the toilet before you came on because I rattled your cage. You're like, I hate this woman. How does she make you do these things? What do you do to move yourself out of that place of,
Well, you know what, the point that Jason just made up about or brought up about spending time with people that you love and that you don't have to worry about around, I think that's really important. And for me, spending time in nature is a huge part of my life. And I have just set such incredible boundaries for myself in terms of what I will do and won't do. And when I start seeing myself going down a path that it does not feel good, and the unfortunate thing is because of our, the way that our bodies work, sometimes it's tempting to fall into those patterns, and we can be there for a while before we kind of identify that we're there. And there is something a little bit addictive about it, I think. So anyway, anytime I catch myself in there, I try to pull out, block myself from engaging with all of the stuff that's going on in social media and just get out into nature, into my garden.
So one of the biggest questions is that we ask all our guests, and I'll start with who wants to go first, Andrea or Jason?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Last time.
Okay. So one of our biggest questions is there a time that you have compromised self in the name of beauty or physicality? And what did you learn?
I feel like compromise myself all the time when we go out. I dress up in clothes that I normally wouldn't wear. I mean, I'm a jeans and a hoodie kind of guy. FXR, Dirty Hands, Clean Money, stuff like that. Not necessarily brand names, but brand names nonetheless. If I'm going to the farm, for example, right? And then Andrea probably doesn't know that, but the farm's out where Michelle lives, pretty close. So that's how it's the farm. It's my safe place, right? So I can go out there wearing mismatched clothes and holes in them, and balls hanging out, whatever, and nobody cares, right? Nobody's gonna just gonna point fun.
Going to town in Thunder Bay. I got like my toque on and my red plaid jacket, my rubber boots.
Yeah.
We're styling.
But then when we go out, like we go bowling or we'll go to the bar, we'll go, you know what I mean? I always dress up. And when I start dressing up, I do feel better about myself. Like, oh, wow. Like I feel good about myself. I'm going out. People are recognizing me, noticing me, you know, oh, nice shirt. You know, I get that a lot, you know, nice tattoos, whatever, you know, just being friendly, stuff like that. It's compromise. It's compromise for me. Going to a wedding is hard for me, right? Or a funeral, because I feel I need to wear a suit, and that's so not me.
Mhm.
I am not, not that I'm not, I don't even know the right word.
You
Dress-
like to do it up sometimes, but on your own terms.
Yes, my own terms, right? If I want to wear a suit to a funeral, then I'll wear one. If I want to wear what people know me in, right? The same about when I was working with kids, right? It's the same thing. People always dress up and they're wearing the nice clothes and the khakis and this and that. And here I come, shorts and sandals. And
Yeah, but then you probably have more rapport with them.
yeah,
Right?
because I
Yeah.
didn't change myself and who I was.
To put airs on.
The youth know me as that. They know me as that. So for me to show up to a graduation for them is, you know, you hear the comments. Oh, you think you could have dressed better? Why?
No.
Why? Why? Like,
Andrea, I got to get you in before we go to our break. So, Andrea, is there a time that you've compromised self in the name of beauty? And if so, what did you learn?
All right. Well, you know, I have given this some thought because I knew you were going to ask this. And at first, I wasn't really sure because I have been pretty rebellious since a young person and really rejected a lot of beauty norms. And then I realized that as I really started to go gray, I did for a period of time with the most natural hair dye that I could find, dye my hair. And part of that was, and I think a lot of us go through this, wait a minute, this is happening way too soon, too fast. I'm not ready to be a crone yet. But I think also I looked around at my family, and I am the youngest in my family by far, and I was the only one showing my gray hair. And so that felt weird too. Anyway, it lasted a few weeks, and then finally I was just like, this is BS. I can't do this anymore. And so, you know, part of that, I think, too, coming back to our previous conversation, is just embracing ourselves as we are, as we move through life, and that aging is beautiful and, you know, natural part of the process and something we should be proud of because we made it.
Well, it's so true. And actually, one of our sponsors is Evoke Salon. And actually, Jerry helped me move my the gray into the natural in a way that I feel comfortable with. But it was very difficult for me too. That was a big issue that I felt like I was compromising on, and I wasn't happy with it anymore. But I want to get in one more quick question in this section, Andrea, and it's about the squirrels in my head. So I talked about this on the weekend, and this goes into the anxiety and the like moving out of that place, because I will hyper focus. As everybody knows, I'm in a battle with Hydra One networking and the Waskin transmission line at this point in time. And what happens is I bite in and I can't let go, right? And I realize it's not an ego thing. It's anything. It's a squirrel in my head that's on like this little wheel, and it will not come off. And then I thought on the weekend, I told Jason and Jan, I'm like, I think the squirrel came off. It's like, and like the wheel, and the squirrel's done. I said, guys, I think the squirrel might be done. But no, Monday came along and jumped right back on that wheel. And this is an ongoing issue that I have. And, you know, when people talk about when, you know, some of the things I do, it's not really me. It's just like the squirrels got into the attic and I can't, they just have a heyday up there. So from your homeopathic, first homeopathy, if you could just explain that in like a very succinct way. And then are there some protocols for me to control this squirrel and the hyperfixation? Because it's circular thinking, right?
So I just want to say that just going back to your previous thing, that I loved it when I saw your gray coming in, and you look absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you. It was not easy for me, but then I thought, no, I will embrace the crone.
And in terms of what you're talking about with the squirrels, we all have them. And I actually think, part of what we were talking about earlier in terms of there's a bit of an addictive quality to the squirrels, whether or not squirrels about high stress, whether squirrels about grief, or how we feel about ourselves, or even the squirrels about falling in love and wonderful feelings, right? It's all kind of an exalted state of being, and our bodies love that place because it's exciting, and so it can be really easy to fall into those patterns. And human existence, especially now, because there's just so many of us, and we're just constantly bombarded with so much that it just feel like we're surrounded by triggers for all of that. So I definitely feel I do recommend nature walks and meditation to so many of my clients, and those are things that I do for myself regularly as well. Like, I need to cut myself off from humans and human concerns to get back to who I am. And I find that is really helpful for a lot of people. And then, you already know, some of the herbal things that we might do for
Well,
that.
no, I'm asked, yeah, you're the expert here. I'm asking
Well,
you.
like I love herbal teas, and overall they tend to be really safe for the average person. So, because everybody's different, everybody's going through something a little bit different. And as you know, it's best for things to be chosen for the individual and have a more holistic approach. Whereas I feel like, having herbal teas that you're preparing for yourself, even going a step further, and
What are some of your favorites? Some of your favorite go-tos?
growing them. So the
Yeah.
ones that come to mind would be things like Skullcap. Actually, I made a tea for myself today before coming on, because I get nervous about this sort of thing. And so in my tea today, I have oat straw and Skullcap, and what else did I put in there? I can't remember what else I put in there, but also lemon balm is wonderful, and that one smells so good too. Chamomile, passion flower. So
Well,
those,
and those goes right into the nervous system, right? Like they actually go into the nervous system for whole body calm.
absolutely. And the other thing that would be wonderful to blend with that would be tissue salts, which I love so much. And
Can you just explain the tissue salts super quick? Because you gave me those when I was in bed and my brain fell out of my head. And I was hoping you'd bring it up, but I wasn't sure if I'd remember.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So, and then do you also want me to explain homeopathy? They are sort of they are sort of aligned. So do you want me to do both?
Well, the homeopathy, just like so people understand, like the little pill form, and then maybe
Sure.
just talk a little bit about the tissue salts and how they work. And then,
Sure. So homeopathy, okay, I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. So essentially it was discovered by a doctor just over 200 years ago. And he was really looking, he recognized that he wasn't healing his patients. He felt that what he was doing with medication was suppressing symptoms and creating more complicated cases of disease that were harder to treat. And his frustration with his practice actually led him to stop practicing medicine. And he started translating medical texts. And through the process of translating medical texts, he stumbled upon the idea that substances that exist, any substances that are taken by a healthy individual over a period of time will eventually elicit symptoms. Some substances, like toxic chemicals, for example, will elicit symptoms very quickly and kill you. Whereas other things, they would be, more mild and come on more slowly. But the idea is that the body is always asking for help, what it's going through. And the way that the body communicates is through its signs and symptoms. And, unfortunately, we are taught to sort of see signs and symptoms as bad, and try to erase them. But what we really need to be doing is recognizing that signs and symptoms are the body's language, and it's the only way that it has to communicate with us. And therefore, we need to listen to those signs and symptoms and then provide the body with what it is that it's asking for help with. And so a homeopathic remedy would be given to someone who has those signs and symptoms that look like the substance that can create those same signs and symptoms.
Jason has some signs and symptoms right now.
I'm just coughing. I'm just coughing because I'm nervous. That's all.
Would
So
you?
for you, Michelle, we would be looking for a remedy that creates squirrels in the brain.
Oh, so I need more squirrels to reduce the squirrels. So
And for Jason, we would be looking for a remedy that produces coughing upon nervousness.
Yeah.
okay. So, and the little thing is like for me, if I was looking for more squirrels, is that like, do you have what that would be within the tablet form, or no, that's something you would create?
So, well, what we would do is we would have a proper consultation so that we can assess what's going on at all levels of your body, because signs and symptoms are always expressing on all levels of the body, even though certain symptoms might be more pronounced, like in your situation in the head right now. And we would, use that information to find a remedy that would fit you as a whole. So it's challenging to kind of just decide in a short period of time what remedy might be needed. But there would certainly be, like a protocol that could be put together both with a remedy and, some herbs and the tissue salts. The tissue salts are sort of considered like an arm of homeopathy because the person who discovered the biochemic medicine was a homeopath. But it's not exactly homeopathy per se. It's more like a cross between maybe homeopathy and a nutritional supplement. The tissue salts are the 12 inorganic minerals that make up all of the tissues in our body, which is why they have that weird name, tissue salts. And basically, if we have a deficiency of any of those within the system, then the body will throw out signs and symptoms to show us what it's deficient in. And so, for someone like yourself, I might recommend, as I said, Caliphos and Magphos tissue salts, because those ones in particular are important for building a robust nervous system. And it sounds like your nervous system has been really overtaxed with the stress of what you're going through.
Shot. Jason, have you tried anything with homeopathy before?
Nope. I
No?
use a lot of, I get stressed. I smoke more. I smoke a ton when I get stressed.
I think maybe Jason, maybe we'll take our crew over and get some tissue salts.
Maybe. I'm up for anything. I'm up for new things, Yeah.
Okay, so I want to, I do need to, at this point in time, talk about a sponsor, but they're anonymous. So basically they said, we're going to give you some money because you might be entertaining, but we don't want our name involved. So thank you to that sponsor.
Yes.
Who gave me. And if anyone else would like to join that and have your name, please contact us.